Hey legends, welcome back to the Verdouw Performance Podcast. Today we're at episode number 98, getting ever so close to episode 100. Getting very excited to raising the bat with the crew for the Christmas special, which to be confirmed which date we'll do it, but it will be up on iTunes, Podbean and Spotify for your Christmas morning commute. So you get a bunch of idiots talking about the year. Hopefully it'll be nice and entertaining. Big thank you to everyone for listening, for taking the time out of your very important schedules to listen to me chat to our guests. Today's guest, I am very fortunate to have back from Burundi, a little country in East Africa. He's been there for the last 7 months. This guy is probably one of the nicest, greatest, most genuine humans you'll ever meet. He won't tell you that himself. He's sitting in front of me giving me the bird right now. We've just had an exceptional conversation around life, around complex beauty, time, curiosity, people, place. Just one of those conversations that will make you a better person, I think, if you listen. Maybe. Anyway, give me some feedback. If you like it, please share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. If you don't, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really matter. Be amazing. Here we go. Here's Jordy. Did I even say your name? It's Jordan Verdouw, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. My personal and business goal is to be just a little bit better every day. I believe everyone, especially normal people, have a story to tell. The Verdouw podcast exists to help us all find small ways of consistent improvement by discussing the journey and experiences of each of our guests.
Priorities.
Jordan, mate. Welcome.
Is it on?
It's on. It's go time.
Yeah.
How the hell are you?
Yeah, good.
How's your morning been?
It's been delightful.
So,
As we just said, a bit of salt water on the skin,
good.
bit of sun rays.
Now, I've got lots of things I want to talk to you about today.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start with the question I start most of these with. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Literally, I have these bird sounds as my alarm.
Good.
That's the first thing that actually happens.
It's got to be significantly better than the honking of the iTunes alarm.
I actually couldn't think of anything worse. Even an alarm is quite unnatural. But
Yeah.
what gets me out? I think I'm genuinely quite an optimistic person who is just very interested in or very appreciative of daylight and colour and life and
Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I guess growing up in a family, it's very, I guess from my dad as well, very observant and very, I guess simple in a way, but like values family and I guess an example is you could never be driving with dad without him saying, you should be looking out the window. What are you doing? Look out the window.
Stop looking down.
Look at it. Look, there's so much to see. So I think it's always been kind of curious and just drawn to the simplicity of what a day is.
Yeah. But when we actually pay attention to it, you realise that simplicity is actually pretty complex.
Yeah.
Like you look outside now and right in front of us you've got a little garden, then you look up and it's just like blue skies, sun's streaming in, leaves are rustling.
Yeah.
Hope everyone listening to this podcast is in the car looking outside just going, this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I think that's you can kind of have both approaches. I think it's like a balance. There's times for just simplicity, for emptying the mind and resting in it or enjoying it, and then there's times for the curiosity to click in and kind of get another speed.
When are the times that your curiosity kind of like kicks into gear the most? What are you doing?
Geez, you really made me think. Maybe probably actually when I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
When I'm in an environment that maybe I've had many simple engagements, just being in there and resting, and then it kind of allows a platform to look a little deeper, or to think a little more. Like, I think about times where my mind wanders the most, and it tends to be in a place of comfort, like or familiar. And maybe it's often in a natural environment. It's probably a little cliche, but maybe that's just a human thing, that to be not around concrete is pretty motivating, inspiring.
You've had a pretty big chunk of the last 12 months not necessarily around concrete. Fill us in on that experience.
Yeah.
And how to come about, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, it starts a long time ago, but this is like the simplest complex kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've just come back from Burundi, which when I say that name, most people are like, what's that? Yeah. Not where is that? Because it's a very small country just south of Rwanda. Yeah. East Africa. Yeah. And I work in the coffee industry. Once again, not intentionally, just never left. After working with a roaster here in Melbourne.
That seems like a common coffee thing, like, because a lot of people get into fields intentionally, and coffee seems to be that, like, almost kind of stepping stone to get somewhere else, but a lot of people don't leave it. Why do you think that is?
I think it's almost like you compare a cafe to, obviously we're in the consumer side, so that's where I'll go first, but compare a cafe to a restaurant or a gallery, or I don't know, cafes are this space where you can have excellence and you can kind of dive down a rabbit hole of quality, but it is so accessible. It's so approachable. You can go in without shoes. You could be just come from the races. It doesn't matter. Like, there's just this melting pot of people. I guess class is kind of not really seen so much. More and more now. I think in Melbourne there is still division. When you're stuck in $1 million budgets, and it does become this bit of a cut and paste, or it gets a bit funny, a bit clicky. But I think coffee kind of represents coffee in a way that it's kind of a thing that egos can be dropped, and it tries to be quite real. And like anything, you add a lot of humans to it, and things get a little trendy, and naturally everyone wants a little sexy consumption. But I think that's why a lot of people are saying coffee. Just because you've got a motivation for people, for connection. And accessibility.
I guess you've got that, like, level of connection with the communities that cafes, especially ones that aren't the copy and paste, the ones that have soul, and the ones that are built off people's love for sharing things. And then you've got that excellence that comes with wanting to perfect, or at least continue to improve a product that, it's certainly something that is very widely available, but the difference between a good coffee and a shitty coffee is very easily noticeable once you spend some time over some beans. But
even that, like, there's probably a lot of people who you kind of almost deny the quality of the thing you're consuming for the quality of the people or the place.
100%.
I really love the word place, because that really encompasses people, space, and everything. And if that's quality, it doesn't really matter what I'm consuming, Good call. I guess that's community.
Shitty fish and chips on the beach with a good crew is just as good as anything.
Can't be mad. I think, that's mind blank. Quality. Where were we?
It happens.
Love it.
Nothing wrong with, like, a big chunk of silence, because then everyone can just, like, stop and look outside and take a breath.
Look up, guys. Well, back to then the link with Burundi. The roaster I was working with here for ended up being 8 years, kind of part-time casual. and then full-time, post-studies.
Yep.
One of our producers, one of our suppliers was a company called Long Miles Coffee, based out of Burundi. And I guess my interest, especially maybe even for this, I mean, like I can't just say I just
it was
went.
one day.
Yeah, it wasn't irrational, which many people seem to think it was at the time. Like, 27, you're getting late 20s, you just need to change things up, little early life crisis.
Just another progression.
Yeah, life's really good, no need to leave. But I just had, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago, just started to be more interested in what being human is actually about. It's just like, I don't know how to grow food. Like, if you drop me somewhere, I would I actually wouldn't know how to be human. I'm the consequence of this
a system,
Western capitalist society that has provided everything I need, and I just have to exist in it. Yeah.
Seriously.
And so it's like, it was kind of started this curiosity to like, what is it just to be a human being? Like, and growing up with a few certain constructs and worldviews, it's like, okay, none of these are my own, and I don't actually understand how and why they exist.
Yeah.
And so then when it came to coffee, it was kind of like an opportunity to look into supply chains and kind of that same kind of curiosity about like just look deeper. Like, what is this thing that we're a part of? And I guess with everything, almost everything comes back to soil, and that's been a fascination for me the last couple of years. And I guess in my industry, in my profession, that looks like most people who are working with soil are producers, and people growing and then preparing green raw product. And last year I knew at the start of the year, I was like, summed up with the middle of this year, it's going to be significant. And I just took 4 weeks annual leave and sent myself to Burundi for 2 weeks. I had a connection with this company as well. A dude I'd worked with. I just said, can I just be a fly on the wall for 2 weeks? Like, I'd been to East Africa once before as a 15-year-old, but this was a little bit different. Yeah. And that was just incredible. And nothing came out of it. It was just beautiful people. It was overwhelming at many times, and nothing came. I just remember being like, I just came back to Melbourne. I did another 2 weeks with my sis up in Scando, and then just kind of came back into routine again. And I was like, what is going on? Like, there was something was supposed to happen in the middle of last year, and it's just funny timelines. Timelines just never, why plan it?
It never happens the way you expect it. Anyway.
Yeah, and a few months later, kind of a conversation picked up with part of the team from over there, just like, hey, we need someone to help us next season with our quality and someone with some sensory experience.
Yeah.
And so just kind of didn't pursue that actually. I was kind of like, that's a bit of a sidestep or backward step and unknown, and why would I leave? Life's so good. I have community here. The Peninsula is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
No reason to leave. And then I had another friend who had asked me, it was another part of our world, and again, a pretty incredible invitation just to be part of something he was doing.
Yeah.
And I just had this real, I was like, okay, I need to go there and see what it feels like.
Awesome.
Because I'm pretty sensitive to place, apparently. Even as soon as I landed, I was like, this is not where I need to be.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I've got 10 more days here.
Yeah.
And lucky, he's just such a good friend. And it was just funny just to close that door there and then just feel really motivated to start pursuing this opportunity with Long Miles Coffee.
Yeah.
And I guess even in that context, there's a bit of subconscious privilege. I think that sometimes happens with being tall and white and male. and it's not like I've had any crazy jobs or anything, but it's just I haven't actually ever really had to apply or push for jobs. It's kind of naturally, and that's also then just the value of the people I've. Yeah,
a big part of that would be you putting yourself in places and networking because you're genuinely interested in people and creating those connections which allow opportunities to arise.
And vice versa, the people I've happened to connect with have also been incredibly generous and connecting. But it was the first time really I had this shift from something being offered to me actually having to pursue. Yeah. And I think that was so necessary for me because I can easily be quite apathetic or passive, and all of a sudden I'm sending emails, and I haven't had a response. So I'm sending a second email. No, and I'm like, okay, am I sending it? I'm sending it. I want this. Like I never. I was like, I couldn't answer what I wanted. I was just kind of like, what if it's wrong? That was always my kind of mentality. But this is like, no, this is right, and I think I need to push this. And so then, 9 months after I had visited there, I'm signing a contract. I'm quitting a job that's kind of comfortable and enjoyable, and that was all sorts of things, feelings, and but the whole time just so natural, just super drawn, just like I'm not. This isn't irrational. This is totally what needs to happen. So
it was obviously like a natural progressive thing, but was there a catalyst that kind of pushed you over the line, or kind of made you or push you to make that decision, or was it just a day after day you just wanted it more and more and more?
I think I could easily just be like, nah, day after day I just want it more and more. But I look back through kind of some journaling and it is yes a day by day thing, but there was many times where I was just my routine, my 9 to 5 was not tapping something deep, a deep desire within me. There was something that was lacking, and it was good, and good's cool. Yeah, but it wasn't best.
Wanted more. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like when it's good, but there's a best. There's always going to be something, and I couldn't always name it, but you talk to, I guess, some close friends or housemates, and it was kind of like there was many conversations about, I just think I need to quit. What am I doing? I need to quit. And so I guess there was, it was kind of a day by day in a way, but it's like it's built up. Like there's so many experiences, and to that moment of like, okay. And I didn't quit before I signed the contract.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't know where this could go. And then as soon as I could sign that contract, then I was like, I can quit and I can move. But what that feeling of sense of place, just like, that was a build up. But it was like then there was this moment of like, I want this.
Awesome.
And then that moment turned into like, after I signed a contract, this is a dream. Yeah. I've written many times in a journal, I want life to be extraordinary. And all of a sudden I'm like,
it's going to be extraordinary.
Shit, this is kind of extraordinary. Yeah. I'm not worthy of this. Or like, I hadn't thought of myself actually doing it, actually pushing through. Yeah. Things going from head to hands and feet, Yeah. But so then, that led me to 7 months in a very different context to this one.
Yeah. Well, before we dive into that, I've always been fascinated by people who do pull the trigger on things like that, like they quit the job that is comfortable and they do well and they enjoy for that, almost to dive into the unknown of something that could be wonderful, could be that extraordinary thing you're looking for, or everything could fall in a heap because it's in the unknown. Why do you think now was the time, or then was the time to do it? And what, for people that are sitting in a job they don't love or doing something that's just good, what advice would you have for them? Or what thought process would you kind of push them down?
Yeah. Well, it's just, they're actually like my favourite conversations as well. Like and it's just funny that you're asking me that, because I'm like, did I do that? I did that.
You did that, yeah.
They're genuinely my favourite question. That moment that someone has the balls or ovaries, to actually make that decision. Yeah. And I think maybe there's people who think similar to me, but I know my personality, there's a lot of things from relationships to job decisions to personal things. It's like I can naturally have a mindset of what if it's wrong, which makes me a bit risk averse. And I'm so encouraged, and I love people who have an attitude like, oh, they're just not that. Yeah. It's like, they don't even ask what if it's right. It's just
fuck it, just do it.
Just do
See
it.
What happens.
And I was like, I just don't. That's just not how my brain's wired. Like I'm trying not to be risk averse, and when I'm healthy, I'm definitely a bit more spontaneous. But, I think I was just challenged by a friend a while back, and that literally posed that question, like, what if it's right? Yeah. and then that I couldn't.
So then what if it fails? Well, what if it doesn't?
Yeah, but what if it's right?
Yeah.
And I'm putting equal weight on that instead of, it's like there's a classic, not a classic, but there's a study that's, it takes a very short time for a bad experience to be kind of imprinted, ingrained in your psyche. Definitely. But it takes, a minimum 15 seconds of a good experience, like non-stop, for that to be ingrained. Like, so we're naturally wired for I am. Yeah. For what if it's wrong? Yeah. Negative things, protect survival instinct.
We definitely respond more fervently to the negative experiences, to I guess it's a survival mechanism, right? Yeah. It's I want to stay alive, or I at least want to stay healthy, or stay moving forward. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
But as you would have definitely understand now, and as you made that transition, those things that are really scary and really exciting at the same time, they're the things we should be pursuing.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's something personally, I think I was just realising that my world was very defined and it was quite bound.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that.
Yeah.
And obviously it still is, I only know whatever I've seen, my own experiences, and I can dream about things, but it's only when you actually move your feet or use your hands that, for something new, that your world is expanded. I guess there was maybe a metaphor that I was using to process was okay, I've got a palette, like a colour, like a painter's a palette, and I have some colours. And that's all I'm seeing. That's my lens for the world. Yeah. I can only paint the world with these colours I've experienced and know. And nothing was really... Because I was working hard, there was a lot of commute. Yeah. Then I started training, which is awesome in this community. So which adds a little colour. Or, but it's just hey, there's a lot more colour.
Yeah.
There's infinite colour.
Yeah.
And me staying here, I'm not going to expand. I'm not going to add any new colours. There's going to be no diversity, and that's not only not a benefit for me or missed opportunity. It's good. Again, this is the good, but what's best? And it's okay, I could just live with these colours, but I'm no, I don't want to. There's more. Yeah. There's all these unknowns, and part of that experience is okay, well, if I am going to go and be in a new context, all I'm doing is adding
colour, yeah.
And if anything, actually, and on reflection, it's okay, well, my palette was actually expanded too. I can't paint, so it's a terrible metaphor, but it's actually...
It's a great analogy, because everyone inherently understands colour, and then the more colour, the more palette you get, the more experience we have.
Yeah.
And I think the world becomes a better place with more people with bigger palette, with more colour.
Yeah.
If you're able to now paint things with a wider array of colours, using the metaphor, because you can't paint, neither can I, then every interaction you have, every conversation you communicate in, every environment that you contribute to is going to be better now because of the experiences that you've had.
Yeah, and it goes beyond another way I've tried to coin it, because I was on a money move, been going to Burundi.
Yeah.
But it's experiential equity.
Yeah.
And so actually I need to put more value on that. And I think I have with this, and I need to continue to put a lot of value on experience.
Yeah.
So I don't have a mortgage. I'm not about to have a baby. There's some things I can afford.
Don't do it as a trap.
Yep. I've heard it. But I think it even comes down to, and obviously this is, it's definitely a privilege to be able to do these kind of things. But you're at the shop and you want to buy some butter. You can buy the cheap butter, or you get dip into the fancy butter, because it might change. It's going to add a colour, and you're going to have the next time you have a conversation with someone about cooking or butter. Yeah. I love butter, so I actually talk about butter quite a lot. You're just going to have more to talk about.
Yeah, good.
I think if we just always, jump into a generic.
When was the last time you did something for the first time? It should be a question that we ask ourselves every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And that's just a constant invitation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think
one of my favourite, quotes, or I can't remember who said it, but it was, if you can't give what you haven't got, and you can't share what you haven't experienced. And we use it a lot in a coaching context, right? So if you don't know what it feels like to be under a bar or to be doing repeat effort 400s, or like whatever it is exercise wise, then it's really difficult for me to take one of my athletes through that session, or through that exercise, or through that whatever. And if I have experienced it and know what it feels like, then it creates a whole new level of understanding when I'm coaching someone through it. But it's exactly the same with travel, with conversation, with cooking, with your butter. If you know what that butter tastes like, then you have another layer or another colour to be able to dish out to the people you're having that conversation with. And that in itself creates more enjoyment and creates another aspect to anything that we do.
It's enriching. It's like, that's wealth.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah. That's unreal.
Yeah.
It's like you have it's like language. You've got, I don't know, the more adjectives you know, the more you can describe things, the more you can be specific. And that's something with what I've been doing in coffee, is being very sensory wise, and like, oh, how do you get something like that? Yeah. It's very simple and basic, and you just have to know how to talk a lot of shit as well. But aside of that, it's experience, it's time. Time is the gift in that regard, because the more time you have, the more new experiences you're invited to pursue. Definitely. And then the more you can compare, and the more specifically you can describe. You can put 3 of almost the same things, in front of someone. Yeah. And there's a chance they might be able to describe each, instead of it's just the same. Yeah. No, they'll be able to describe. And
they're different.
That's enriching if you can go through your day, from conversations with your spouse to a mate, or just with yourself, like the way that, I think that's a gift if you can articulate things specifically, and that's like just a positive outcome for curiosity. Definitely. Instead of just looking at something like flower. If you study flowers, you'll be able to like name that. You'll be so stoked on the biology of that specific flower and whatnot. I don't know.
And like you've almost gone full circle with like that curiosity and that search for things that are a little different, and to find, I guess, the extraordinary in the ordinary. Like everything, like life is inherently better if we find something that we enjoy or appreciate or whatever, and then look into it and learn more. Like you're never gonna learn more about something and go, I wish I never learned that. Like it gives you the capacity to, and it takes you to your edges, and then gives you the capacity to grow those edges to be able to give more and do more and be more, which is, I guess probably one of the reasons why you got on that plane to fly over to Burundi. Talk me through that experience, and especially the first couple of weeks. So I always find whenever you do something different, that learning curve is really steep. What was that like?
It was. Well, I have to start with, like, I landed with some incredibly generous and beautiful people who I had previously spent a few weeks with, and one of them in particular, a dude called Ollie, he's a very good friend now, and I remember landing, and he hosted so well. So I was there was an element of comfort. But as the weeks progressed, and it's like, okay, this is my new reality, again, felt very natural. I'm like, okay, this is very complex, but I'm meant to be here. Yep. How did I coin it? I think it was like complex beauty. That's cool. Because I'm in an environment it's undeveloped. The reality is one of fiscal poverty. Yeah. And political poverty, but there's like huge, seemingly social wealth. The other then big thing was I represent, my skin and my ethnicity is a symbol in Burundi. Yeah, okay. Of a colonial past and of privilege, of money, and this is something that was like a battle for me that took a while. Yeah. But it meant I was very uncomfortable. It's almost I didn't want to leave the gate of my residence. That adventurous spirit is like hard to. Yeah, well, that's where the fear and that kind of becomes that front of mind. Yeah. Was it perceived, or was it genuine, or both? I think it's a bit of both. Like genuinely assembled. Yeah. But so then it took a few months, and then I found another way that, because I did a lot of walking, which was actually such a gift as well, because I had to be on the street. I had to walk past people. I had therefore neighbours, and they have legs, I have legs. And they start to be like, oh yeah, everyone's human.
Everyone's the same.
But how I coined it was like, oh wow, I've been so self-conscious of myself in space. I'll say all these spaces. There was no ability for me to have a deep connection to anyone or anything really, because I was so self-aware. So inward, there's kind of this, I wouldn't go as far as like not negative ego in a way, but still like thinking about myself and like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm different. We're different. Who am I to be here? There's also I'm like, I shouldn't be. This is your place. And what am I doing here? Who am I to come and walk in your streets? Just because of
what
the history and
perceived
and a perception. What I was perceiving how they were perceiving me. And as time went by and I kept walking those streets and I started to have more conversations, started to learn a few words. And just got more comfortable to be myself and be curious in people. And simultaneously reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which we can talk about after.
Definitely.
Just with that, once again, time is a gift. Because then I realised there's a few times, I was walking around, I was walking to work or something, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot that I was like in Bujumbura. And then I realised that I'd moved from self-conscious of myself in space to aware of the place I'm in. So it's this totally different posture. And it took months, like 3 months. Yes, I'm working and busy and whatnot, but all these differences, I'm different, they're different, I'm not meant to be here, blah, blah, blah. And with time, I know, I was still meeting new people every day, and 3 months before that, I would have been freaking out like, oh, they're judging me, they don't want me here, I shouldn't be here, how do I say anything to them, I'll walk on the other side of the road. But it's like, oh no, now I'm just like, okay, I am here, this is your place, I want to respect that, I'll change my body language, but also I'm not here to exploit.
No, you're there to contribute.
And I understand that I'm a symbol of the past, and I have to carry that as well. That's a reality. Well,
but that's it, like you being there, and yes, you have to carry that symbol, but at the same time you can break down some of those preconceptions or misconceptions that the locals might have around what to expect from you. And when they start to connect with you on different levels and different ways, then they start to realise, okay, well, we all have, mostly, hopefully, 2 legs, and we all have, the same features, and we all express it different ways. So, how did you feel that how did the interactions change as your perceptions changed over those 3 months? And obviously towards the end when you were probably a little bit more comfortable?
I think something that didn't change was my ability to learn French. So there's no, that should be said as well.
All French.
Well, Kirundi is like the language.
Native language.
A little Swahili is thrown in there as well. But then French-Belgian kind of colonialism means there's a lot of education and businesses in French. I speak neither. So, but even what changed then was like, okay, rubbish English and uncomfortable and like, I'm sorry, I love engaging people, and I'm in a taxi and I can't talk. And I'm like, I am so rude. This is terrible. To the end, I guess this is my example, to be able to be in a taxi, throw some really terrible Kirundi their way, they laugh, they say Mzungu jokes, like white man jokes. Be able to offer fruit. I don't know, have a little banter. I think it was...
Just like think of those 2 examples you gave, and like what your body language would be in example 1 compared to what your body language would be in example 2. Like imagine that would be chalk and cheese. So if your body language is relaxed, and then you're trying to communicate, and you're throwing out the words, and that you're not saying it exactly right and things like that, then you're probably a little bit more relaxed and you're laughing about it, and then that's going to disarm any misconceptions that taxi driver has, and they're going to want to engage with you and connect, and it's a completely different interaction. Example 2 to example 1.
And you nailed it. I think it's pride.
Yeah.
So I've got pride and I'm self-conscious, and I even subconsciously hold myself at some level, and I'm serious.
Yeah.
And naturally can be pretty serious anyway, but it's like I'm too serious, I'm too self-conscious in that first posture. Yes, I'm a bit stiff, a bit uptight. Yeah, and the second example is like humbling.
Yeah.
I've been humbled, and that's an ongoing journey anyway.
Yeah,
it's like, that's actually what it is. Yeah, it's like, I have to take myself less seriously. You have to be humbled, drop some pride.
Yeah.
And it's not coming down to anyone else's level. It's just coming down to reality.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow.
Just being there.
Yeah.
In that place.
Yeah.
You spoke before about learning to be human and learning what it is to be human. What's the last, how long are you gone for? 7 months?
7 months.
What's the last 7 months taught you about being human?
Oh, yes. So good. That is being human.
It's the best, because that's all we bloody know.
What I've learned, for some, it's not the best.
Yeah.
So I think even before I left, there was I started to have this, I remember even just being at the beach out at Cook's Beach.
Yeah.
Being in the water and feeling really held. Just like, I'm on this planet and I'm fully submersed and I'm just moving with the tide a bit.
Yeah.
The current. And it's like, I'm in the world, I'm fully part of it, fully submersed right now.
Yeah.
And the reality is that Burundi exists right now.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's beyond my bubble. It's beyond what I'm just seeing now, what I know. And that's, I guess, something I've learned about being human is our shared reality. And that, yes, I'm so finite. I can't read every book. I can't learn every language. I certainly learned that in the last 7 months. French is terrible, by the way, but excellent.
Shout out to everyone who knows French.
Yeah, good on you. But this idea of shared reality, how can I not be aware of my neighbour just because they're 10,000 kilometres east of me or west? Don't look up. It could be more or less. But like this was and even to be in Burundi and in this environment with neighbours and brothers and sisters who, are in very different circumstances, very different, generations before us, we have very different backgrounds, but simultaneously I've got family, friends and community 10,000 kilometres east, and it's like, everything's existing right now. Why do we have flags? Why do we draw lines in the sand and call them borders? Why do we separate ourselves and find, and highlight differences?
Find the reasons,
why do we, everything's so out of balance? And I think that's, there's many other things I learned about being human. But that was one of the things. Like, we actually are all we have a shared reality.
Definitely.
And I think it's so okay if my focus can only be where I currently am.
Well, it has to be. Like you can be, like, that awareness can be, like we can sit here and go, okay, well, I'm aware that there's 300 million people in America sitting around doing their thing, and there's, however many people in Burundi, and you can do that for every little part of the world, and especially for all of us that, like, we're very fortunate that we can travel the world. We live in a time and a place and an environment where we have those capacities. Like, I think back to some of the trips I've done, like, whether last place, New Zealand was the last little trip I did, and there's cities and there's a whole country worth of people just doing their thing. And same thing with Japan, same thing with South America, same thing with when you think about Burundi. And if my mind is in those places now, then I'm not appreciating the niche, which I think is the best part of the world. But I think I'm a little biased. But I think it's almost like it needs to be a shared awareness that when you open up your mind to new experiences by traveling, you start to realize that no, we're not really that different. And we tend to highlight differences, whether it's because we're afraid or it comes from the fear of differences. Like people don't like what's different, but when you start to understand and give yourself, it took you 3 months to kind of allow yourself to experience those differences without that ego and without that kind of self-awareness, or not self-awareness, self-consciousness. And it's mind-blowing that we do have borders and flags and things like that, and it's almost I find myself in the middle, because I understand why all those things exist, but I also understand how different and potentially improved the world would be if they didn't. Right.
Isn't it? Yeah, it is interesting, because there is, like, we do want to fly a flag. We do want to be part of something. We want family and community. Yeah. Like, there's a reason not every gym is called Verdouw or Jets, or it's kind of like, no, because this is different. This is its own.
We're
thing.
all so different. Yeah. Like, yes, we flock to people who have the same values and the same belief systems, and almost that echo chamber. And it's the same as like football clubs. Okay, everyone has their team they support, and if approached the right way, like, it's great having friends that support different teams, because then there's that ability to come and connect over a shared love for a sport, a shared hatred for other teams, and it creates that community in different ways. It's just when it's on a world scale, where different languages and different traditions and different environments, where it's lost because you don't have that shared interest, because we forget about being human.
And our rights, or certain people's rights, are influence as well.
Yeah, definitely. Which how obvious is the colonial rule, for lack of a better word, that has been in areas like Burundi? Was it obvious day to day?
I'm really aware that I was only there for, in the context of
7 months though is like, relative to human existence is not long, but relative to your existence, it's a chunk of your life.
I think the consequences, I don't know any other Burundi. Starting at 7 months unknown. So politically, there isn't a lot of freedom. I'm even confused there, because the government would tell you there's freedom. I think I've got, like, some of my good friends there, French, Belgian, incredible people, super generous, living their life, doing their thing, but from what I understand, it wasn't a positive history at all for people of Burundi. There was division that came out of it. Flags, labels. You're from this tribe. You're from this tribe. And then, I think that was actually part of the lead up to then the crisis in Rwanda, Burundi. We hear about Rwanda and the genocide, and that's the same ethnicities, ethnic groups, and a lot of the Burundi was shared. Shared that brunt of just indifference and disconnect. Even coffee itself is only exists in Burundi because the colonial crew came in and forced everyone to plant coffee 60 years ago.
Which is crazy.
And I just think that maybe, from what I understand, Burundi didn't have a lot to offer for exploitation purposes. And so it was kind of left in a pretty bad state. I think that's the state. There was a time when it was thriving. Even up until recently, apparently it was just like a bit of a party town. It was like, let's go to Bush and Bora for the weekend. Our country's always been very undeveloped, but I think politically, I can't even say what it would be like before colonial rule. I don't know, but I think that it definitely didn't aid. It didn't help. And definitely get someone with specialisation in colonialism to come and talk and answer this question for you, so I'm out of my depth.
I guess, but that's you never regret like diving in and learning things. Like if anyone listening to this, and like, I'm probably going to spend a little while on YouTube and Wikipedia and stuff like that looking into this later, but it's just that you'll never regret learning more about something. So it's it's a whole, like, it's crazy to think that, what are there, how many countries are there in the world? 206 or something?
Yeah. I was going to say 197, but you're right. I think you're right. We'll Google that after.
We will Google it. I'm going to Google it right now as we talk. But there's that many countries that each have their history that we could choose to learn and dive into and choose to not. And like we think of our history as we're now, second, third, whatever generation Australians, that we've got a very similar history with colonial rule coming over and tearing things apart the way they were. Yeah. And we don't really think about that day to day as much as we should.
Do you know, I think I became more aware of that because I was living with some Spanish people and they were so confused about the Commonwealth. And we had to talk about what the Commonwealth is. I was like, dude, you don't understand how good the Commonwealth Games are. Like, that's good enough reason to stay involved. But yeah, and that came back to then. There was so many moments of not being a proud Australian in conversations about how, the I guess the European, the recent white history of Australia.
Yeah.
And it ain't cool.
And that's the thing. Like we live in a very, very white part of the world in Mornington Peninsula, and it's diversity is slowly becoming more diverse, but it's not the most diverse area in the world. And I think things like you spending 7 months in Burundi and adding colours to your palette, and every time someone from this area travels, it opens that whole experience to look at things a little differently. There's 241 officially recognised countries and territories from the United Nations. The US only recognises 200.
Classic.
160. The best answer is that there are 196 countries in the world.
I said 197.
Yeah. Or are there 197 countries? So only 193 are members of the United Nations. So the state of Palestine and the Holy See aren't in there. There you go.
Gee whiz.
So there's a lot of countries, around 200.
How many languages? That's another little Google thing, because that's probably going to be more interesting.
Thousands.
Because countries are just
languages.
Lines in the sand, but you've got a lot of differences.
How many did you think?
I
just saw it.
I just saw it, but I was thinking it was going to be a lot more.
6,500 languages.
I was going to say like 100,000.
Can you name more than 20?
Let's not play that game.
Not play that game.
I think I could.
6,500 are a lot different to 20.
Yeah.
And 20 would be, I reckon, pushing it for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that's something that's been cool to experience, how much language is a part of it's an impact and influence on how you live. Like learning a bit more about Swahili and Arabic.
Yeah.
Like small just language banter over beers and beef brochettes, but people were just sharing words in Swahili and Arabic, and it's like they are loaded with respect or loaded with love or loaded, I don't know, they're just loaded words. I feel like the English language is just direct, and you have to
everything's
pull a lot of words
meant to be very literal.
Instead of like they're not loaded with feeling or emotion.
But
you can say a word or you essentially make a sound in Arabic or Swahili, which are very similar. And it is just loaded with respect and honour, or it's just like
that's powerful.
What kind of society that could breed? One where elders, you have a language that you speak or words you only say to elders, and they are representing something, but the word itself is loaded with
a special word.
You wouldn't just say that to anyone. It's like we don't really care.
We don't look at words the same way, no.
No.
You spoke about like the first couple of weeks and what it was like getting into it. What was it like wrapping up the trip the last month or so, knowing that you're coming home and knowing that you were leaving that place to come back to a place where you know and love? What was that like?
Once again, everything's felt very kind of natural and drawn, and I think I'm still really wanting to learn how to live in a rhythm rather than routine. But there was a lot of rhythm in Burundi for me. And it was kind of busy, and there was just, I went to Uganda with Sammy Keck and Tommy T and Andy Dell.
Shout out, lads.
Last week, or the week before last. And that was a really cool way to kind of be in East Africa still, in a different environment, and Uganda felt very positive and filled with hope. coming from Burundi as well. Obviously you build relationships with cool people and community. So part of that was sad to leave, but I guess thinking about being here, I had to start processing that at least a month and a half out.
Yeah.
Just knowing that there'll be questions about what's your plan, what are you doing, and I'm someone who naturally can get anxious about if I'm not doing something, I'm not busy, and I've had to just really be like, Jordan, the plan is to not have a plan.
Yeah, we had that chat on Saturday, and it was kind of like you'd been asked an iteration of that question 3 times in like the 10 minutes we were sitting there. And I think it's a really interesting one because we're almost expected to know what's next. We expected to have the structure and the things planned out, and when we don't, it kind of throws some people, and it throws us even, like that routine and regularity that comes with living in the same place, doing similar things, not necessarily doing extraordinary things and experiencing things for the first time like we spoke about before. That lack of a plan is scary to some people, but I think it's, especially when you've had an experience like you've had, it's probably really important because you can follow the things that feel natural now.
It's still scary in a way.
all the good things now. It is expensive here.
This beer is expensive. That's what I'm saying. No,
I've got lots in the fridge, so just come around.
Yeah,
it's full.
You are right. It is. There's an element of why wouldn't you have a plan? Especially in a future-oriented society where we have security, we have property rights, we have business rights.
Very different to what life was like in Burundi.
Day by day in Burundi. Not a lot's guaranteed. And there are incredible people and courageous people who still invest, they still create. And that's inspiring to be around. But I think an element of being back here is even like energy of people like yourself who are doers, and I've learned about myself that if I don't, I avoid taking time to sit with myself and my own ideas. And I can easily respond and just react and be like, I need to be doing something. And that will just be this, that's kind of the rhythm of the routine I was in a year ago. And it's just like, okay, there's a different kind of speed. And rather than, I even picked myself up yesterday, I told someone I was unemployed right now, so I had heaps of time, which is not a lie. But I was like, Jordan, I just labelled myself as unemployed, like I'm lacking something. It's like, no, I'm just living right now. And that's okay. Because it means I have time. But it's just...
But it's an identity thing, having a job, a certain job. Like, even for me, like, identity, Verdouw is a big part of it, like being a footballer, like, being a dad soon. Like, that's labels that we put on ourselves that, yes, I'm going to be a dad, and yes, I'm part of Verdouw, and yes, I'm a footballer. So they're labelled, they're there for a reason. But we don't need them. They don't necessarily add value to our lives. So you saying whether you're unemployed or not doesn't fucking matter. It's just hanging in the moment, like exploring.
And I realise the privilege of a safety net. That's also a reality.
Which we're all fortunate to have because of families and friends and communities that we all have here. Like, if something happened, then you'd have so many people that are there to help you and support you. But I guess how about instead of unemployed, you're an explorer at the moment. You're exploring. Positive connotations on exactly the same thing. Just living.
I'm actually a snorkeler.
Yeah, it's good.
Full time.
We are going snorkeling today, so it's happening.
How does that feel for you? Because you're a busy man. You got things going on. This departmentalizing our worlds. And kind of like putting ourselves into different defined roles. Do you naturally do that? Do you find you need to do that to cope, or do you see an alternative narrative to how you can approach yourself and identity with these new things?
I think it's... I try not to have those thoughts around like I am this, like, because I am just a person that's trying to do their best day to day, in these environments, like in these roles, but what the role demands of me today is going to be different to what it demands of me next week or the week after, or especially when big life things start changing, as they are going to over the next couple of weeks. So I think I look at it as, okay, well, most of my learnings at the moment are not necessarily technical in nature, they're adaptive. So for me to be able to do what I want to do, which changes as I change, I need to adapt, and I need to figure out where my edges are, whether it be communicating with our team, whether it be my own physical capabilities, whether it be how I interact with KP and our soon to be offspring. Like when that happens, like those things are just, okay, well, these are my edges at the moment, and this is something that I need to rely on the people around me to help me figure out where those edges are, because that self-awareness play that we were talking about before with you, like I feel the same way around like things that I think I'm great at, which I'm sure people close to me would say, yeah, you're rubbish at that. Like communication's a big one. Like I think I'm great at communicating with certain things and certain people, and their other people's experiences that will be completely different to my experiences. So I don't know, for me, I've kind of danced around the question a little bit, but it's a lot about finding where my edges are in these different areas and working on ways and kind of creating little experiments in my life to expand those edges, and to, if I'm working with the edges and my capacity is growing, then I'm becoming a better version of myself. And this medium, this podcast, having these conversations has definitely been one of the things that helps with that, because you asking me a question a certain way allows me to think about that aspect of my life and I guess deconstruct it to go, okay, well, these are what my roles look like. Yes, it's all about edges, but maybe there's certain, I don't know, everything for me is just levers to push and pull. Do I spend more time training? Do I spend more time on Verdouw? Do I spend more time sitting at Common Folk talking rubbish with the guys? Like, do I spend more time journaling? And a lot of it at the moment, especially probably the last 6 months, knowing that my life's going to change like dramatically, has been, okay, what do I think I need at the moment? And I journal every day, but some days it's like pulling teeth, and other days it's, I'll write 20 pages. I'll write my page, and then I'll write a blog post, or I'll write quotes or whatever. Some days it just comes out, some days it doesn't, and I think it's really important to understand what we need at the time. And I'm sure you'll, now that you're back and home, and you haven't even been home a week yet, so take the pressure off yourself a little bit to have that plan. You'll be able to just go with what you think you need, and things always work out in the end. Like things always work out. So I don't know, it's an interesting one, and
it's part of like seeing yourself holistically. I guess you talk about defining and whatnot. It's like toolboxes are for compartmentalizing things, not human bodies. Human minds.
That's it.
And that helps with the processing, but seeing those defined, those definitions as tools to enrich life, rather as like identity is defined as these things.
Definitely. Every experience is just adding another tool to that toolbox, and eventually that toolbox is going to get full. We get another toolbox. Some people would disagree completely with that statement.
I even had like a kind of a bit of a mind musing, mind wonder recently. I think I was literally trying to process that. I think I went to. Oh, so dumb, but sometimes when you just check yourself out and you're like, Jordan in the middle of the page, box around it. Okay, line, box, lives here. I'm like, what am I doing? This is gross. Like, this happened like 2 months ago.
That's really cool.
Ago. And then I was like, no, I'm not a box. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, timeline. I'm like, no, that's even more linear.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm a circle.
I'm a circle.
And it's like, everything's just encompassing me.
Yeah.
Like, this is just me, everything's in it. And I was like, well, no, that's still a really defined thing. I'm like, I have no idea who I am. But I'm so okay. Like, and I know that there are things to me that I'm actually really confident about. It's not, okay, maybe it's not so, maybe it's like a fuzzy circle. It's got some different edges. It's a bit more edgy. And it's like, no, it's actually more than that. It's more three-dimensional. Like, and it's moving. Like, why am I trying to define it? And it's like, the shape I ended up with, maybe, I don't know what atoms look like, but it made me think of the sun. You know, it's got a core.
Yeah.
We have a core. There's some things that we build on, some truths, and some like just literal truths, like just human being and whatever genus we are, and those kind of things. But then it's like we have experiences from our birth, and like you think of the sun, they have their flares, or the sun flares, and so it's all gassy and it's all moving, and there's a chance that it's super fluid. And if I'm going to you're going to start a business at some age. You've already got all these other flares of things you've done, but it's like, actually, no, I'm choosing this way. Yeah. And all those other things exist. You haven't lost them. You didn't leave them on the timeline 20 years ago. No, they're part of you. You carry them today. But now there's a new flare that's going. And it might just keep on growing. Yeah. It might stop.
I love that analogy.
You might then move to another thing. Actually, I'm going to transfer my energies to that. And you can have things simultaneously moving. You're going to be a dad. Yeah. You're going to, all these things. It's not like, okay,
the other things are still
new box of Lachlan. Yeah. And I think what the invitation, for, in my processing of that was, is if I'm defined and I've got hard edges, how the hell do I connect with another person if they've got defined hard edges? Yeah. You're never going to fully interact and connect.
There needs to be that
but the moment
receptor and that.
I drew it in a drawing. I should just show you. This makes it. That was my processing.
I love that. I love that diary too. That's really cool.
Yeah, this is a China Beijing project.
That's cool.
But this will just help.
Apologies for everyone that's not watching the visual version of this, which doesn't exist yet.
This is what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, good.
That rather than literally,
that's so
it's a process. But the moment we have all these little flares, these undefined things, they can connect with your. I have a moment of connection with you because we can yarn about something.
That's a great analogy.
And there's no hard areas. It's unknown what we're talking about, but it's infinite. Yeah. And I think that idea of treating ourselves as holistic things, that everything matters, everything complements.
We transcend our previous capabilities and capacities and the person we were, but we also include that person. Yeah. So, as we develop, whether from infant to toddler to we cease to be a toddler, but that toddler is still within us. And it's the same thing as we grow within whatever we're doing now as a fully grown adults, which doesn't really exist because we're always growing in different ways. If we can understand that every time we transcend our current capacities, we include what we were. I've got a pile of babushka dolls, the Russian nesting dolls on my desk, which is a great analogy for it. Little one, if you put them all together, it's the bigger one. You just keep getting a bigger babushka doll to put yourself in. And if we look at it that way, that we're always going to be growing and including and growing, transcending and including, then everything we do. And that's why I am lucky enough to talk to a lot of people that are going through transitions and changes in their life, whether it be quitting their job and going to an East African country, or whether it be a student who's trying to figure out what their next step is after that, or whether it be someone changing jobs. Everything we do teaches us usable skills to do the next thing. So it doesn't really matter what we choose to do. It matters that we choose something, dive into it, put everything into it, and then the next thing will come, and the next thing will come, and each one of those makes you a better person at the next thing you do. If you decide to learn French over the next 12 months, then that's going to improve your ability to learn different things. It's going to improve your ability to communicate. It's going to change everything, even if you don't actually speak French to anyone. So that's I think that's the cool part about being human, is that there's so many different ways to improve and to grow and to learn more.
And all we have to do is dropping things.
Yeah.
That idea of a holistic thing is okay, I don't have to change my timeline. It's actually that relationship has to end.
Yeah.
Or
it's
I
not
need
serving
to quit
you.
that job. I need to move there, or I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
We don't have to. I think it's also permission to see yourself, respect yourself, and go, okay, I have permission now. That's a part of me. Yes, I have to carry that. Some of it's painful, and I can't suppress it. I have to do it. It's part of me. But let me now push life.
Yeah.
Try that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Now, one last question for you. What are you most excited for?
Getting in the water at Savo is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Short-term excitement. I'm genuinely excited about today and tomorrow.
Good.
Definitely. In the sense of, I just really hope that my life is a life-giving lifestyle, right? And serves a life-giving legacy. And that's a challenge. I have to check in with myself a lot if that's going to happen. Yeah. But that to me just means that tomorrow I'm going to have, and today I'm going to have to prioritise people and place. And I don't know, that's an awesome invitation.
Good.
So that's a bit broad and out.
It's meant to be.
Out there. It's not so literal. But it's like, no, actually, I'm really excited about today. I'm really excited about tomorrow because there's a lot of wealth in my life, and there's more colour to see, and there's more to experience, and there's more cheese and butter to eat and buy.
What a way to finish. Mate, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for giving your experiential wealth to everyone that listens.
You're a boss.
Good from you.
Thanks for that.